Welcome to the Men Talk Ubuntu podcast. Our guest this episode is Roger Mejias, originally from the tropical terrain of Trinidad and Tobago. He's an avid explorer, an intrepid entrepreneur, and aficionado of the beauty this world offers. A man with an evolving vision for life, which he continues to live on his terms. Roger, it's a pleasure to have you here. Please tell us about your story and journey.
Thank you, Shah. It's a privilege to be here, and you make me sound good. So thanks for that. Just give you a brief introduction of myself. Like you said, I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. I did all my schooling there. When I was about 18, I moved to the UK, and I started working on the oil rigs. Since I've been doing that from then till now, and since I get a lot of time off with that job, I've learned all about it, investing in different things. So I invest in property and a couple of businesses here and there. I have a few going concerns, and generally I just like acquiring skills. I like acquiring a lot of skills. So I basically have a lot of different things that I get involved in. Keeps me interested. So that's a brief summary of myself.
Brilliant. I like how you phrase that with regards to you spending a lot of the time that you get off, because I think you sort of work like a 3-week on, 3-week off rota on the most part, or sometimes could be even longer.
It's random because I'm sort of a contractor, so it depends on what offers I accept and so on. It's quite random. Sometimes I'm 3 weeks there, 1 week here. Sometimes I'm 3 weeks here, 1 week out there.
Excellent. And when you're at work, you're at work. Yeah. When you're not there, when the contract's done, you are set. And well, I'll say thank you first and foremost, Roger, because it goes beautifully onto the topic for today, which is when men talk about committing to your vision. And I think you are working on your vision when you're at work, and you're also working on your vision when you're not at the workplace, which is great to hear about. But before we get into that, could you tell us about your mental health story?
Okay, well, in terms of mental health story, I mean, I feel like I've been on quite a journey in terms of mental health. I mean, most stories start off in terms of mental health, start off in childhood, so perhaps I can just, speak about my beginnings and so on. And
for sure, take us back.
Come up and, feel free to jump in anytime you like. Basically, as I say, I grew up in Tobago. I was raised by a single mom, and I've got 5 siblings. I was like the second to youngest. And so, being raised by a single mom, I didn't really have that much of a male, role model, if you would. But what I did have was and I also didn't have a lot of friends. I was quite a shy child, very self-conscious, sort of lacking in confidence, if you would. But I did have one friend, which was very different. He was very different from me. He was, she was sort of like the dominant one in the group of boys, if you would. He was quite outspoken, very skillful in a lot of things, and he was one of the leaders, But somehow we had a good friendship. We grew up next to each other, and he would sort of shelter me. So as a result of being friends with him, I was able to be included in the group without actually standing on my own feet. So at that time it felt like a blessing, but in some respects you can say it didn't work so well, because obviously it didn't allow me to have to be forced to develop the skills, like to fend for myself, in a social setting and among boys, being more dominant, things like that. So, as a result of that friendship, I never really developed those qualities, So, all the way through my schooling and stuff like that, I was quite kind of quiet, shy, very self-conscious, very concerned about what people think and wanting to like be liked and things like that. And the problem was, I felt like I lacked a lot of, mostly what I felt most the pain from was mostly like social skills. I felt like I lacked a lot of social skills, and I didn't know how to talk with people, how to even simple things like bantering with the guys, or if I'm offered speaking to an attractive woman or girl in those days, that would scare the shit out of me. So, yeah, Shaman, do you want to say? Oh, you just
Yeah, I'm just curious now. So I'm almost sad that I jumped in at that moment. It was just getting super interesting. But I wanted to
Yeah.
ask, what was the cause of this self-consciousness or this insecurity? What? Because obviously I know you as you are now, so I'm quite curious to understand what made you self-conscious when you were younger. Was it appearance or just a mindset thing?
Well, like I said, I think it's the fact that I felt, I don't know, like when I was younger and I had this mate of mine, like I said, I wasn't really forced to develop confidence and fend for myself, so I could have gotten away with just being quiet and still be included in the group, still be able to enjoy and have a good time. So I think as a child, if you're not forced to develop certain things, maybe because of the fact that you can't get by without them, you probably just take the easy way out, if you know what I mean. You try to just get by. Yeah? So for that, I think that probably is the reason why I just had that type of shyness. I don't know. It could be to do with my family as well. I mean, having six siblings, there was a lot of war going on in the house. So, most of my siblings are older, so I would be the one kind of, getting disciplined a lot. So, you kind of learn to just be a bit more quiet and just, go with the flow a little bit like that.
Yeah.
I think
So,
I think you're right with what you're saying because I mean I remember reading an article which and also speaking to someone who studied psychology, and they always said that when it comes to having a siblings, which is for instance three or more, there's two different paradigms. So for instance, the firstborns or the first two or three, they're always outspoken, very loud, and they always get heard and things like that. Whereas the other spectrum of it is the younger ones or the last one feel no matter how vocal they are, they don't get heard, or even if they say something, it's never of significance. And I've even spoken and I've also seen that same kind of thing in my own family as well. And I came to realize even my younger brother is, even though he's vocal to an extent, but at the same time he's quite very reserved and things like that. So I think that also play even without even me realizing as a big brother that because you have to nurture and guide your younger siblings, little do you know that you're actually kind of suppressing them being vocal, whereas it took me to kind of understand, take a step back and have that conversation with him and say that, do you know what, now I understand why you are the way you are, why you're most probably quiet and you're reserved and things like that, but when he's with his friends he's more outspoken and things like that. But within the family, and that also when we're in social environments is quite similar as well. And I don't know if you can relate to that as well.
Yeah, I would say, like in certain situations, like when you feel like you're being saved, like it's the deliverance that doesn't deliver, because then
Yeah.
you just stop using your own mind, you stop using your own power to improve, to deal with the situation if someone is there handling it for you. It's sort of like the situation with like kids who their parents like take away all sense of responsibility from them and just do everything for them.
Yeah.
When they grow up now, they become big kids. They don't know how to do anything for themselves, and the parents thought that they were showing love by doing that. They're giving them everything they think they want, but actually you also set them up for a helplessness when they get older, you know. So sometimes, you know, you need to allow people like you know, siblings or younger folk to fend for themselves, suffer, let them suffer a little bit.
I agree. I agree. Pain is gain, as they say.
Exactly. Shamanda.
Yeah, I love well, I don't love the idea of suffering, but I know there's a psychologist, I think Viktor Frankl, who was like a prisoner in the Jewish camps, you know, in Auschwitz, and he's a survivor, of course. And he spoke a lot about suffering and us having to find some sort of meaning through it. But as you were saying all that, I was literally thinking of the thing that people say about the butterfly, where it once, you know, it's moving from a caterpillar and it gets itself in its cocoon and it's about to become or emerge as a butterfly. If you cut the cocoon and let it out, it will never use its wings. It won't sort of force its way out and flap its wings and get all the fluids pumping there to where they need to go to allow it to survive. It will just come out with its wings all weak, I suppose, and it won't fly, therefore it won't eat, and it will just die, basically. And I think that that's very aligned to what you were saying. And I know you were sort of going through your school phase where you were saying you had this one friend who was perhaps a bit more boisterous or gregarious and stuff, and he took you under his wing.
Sheltered me, if you would, sheltered me from having the need to fend for myself, you know, amongst the boys or amongst the
and we're getting into the girls' situation. So I don't know if this is where you got the awareness of the fact that you needed to do more work for yourself, or if
well, what I would say is what happened is throughout my high school, I mean, I was quite that shy, quite self-conscious. I mean, I wasn't necessarily you know, bullied or anything like that. You know, I just was quite quiet and quite shy and reserved. I was, you know, I did quite well in academics. So I think some of the more, if you would say, cool kids wanted to copy from me in tests. So they stayed on my good side, you know. They didn't bully me or something like that. So, but you know, that shyness and that lacking in self confidence and so on, you know, last with me throughout my schooling, and then even into my young adulthood. And I think what happened is when I look back, I realized I had a belief, right, that there are certain skill sets that you are either born with or not. And in terms of social skill sets, I felt like those were in that category. It's like, you know, some people are charismatic and likable and, you know, able to, you know, be entertaining and so on, and some people are not. And if you're not like that, you're almost, it's like you're doomed to that for the rest of your life in that sense. I believe that I had that belief that certain skill sets weren't learnable. They were either you have it or you don't have it, right? And that one limiting belief, I think, is something that made me feel a lot of hopelessness. And I think that could bring on feelings of depression and things like that, because you're almost, you know, hope is a big part of feeling positive about the future, feeling that, you know, I may be here now, but there's a clear pathway for me to get from here to where I want to be. And if you don't believe that that's possible, then you almost feel like you just got to resolve yourself to not being what you would like to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite incredible. You mentioned even hopelessness. In positive psychology, there's usually, say, 4 pillar concepts, if you will, which is hope, confidence, resilience, and I think self-esteem. And like, say, if you're lacking those, you are more inclined to get into that remuneration, thinking money, that vicious cycle that often leads to depression, where you are ruminating over your own behaviors or experiences and
extreme self-consciousness.
So I mean, it sounds like it sounds like you were quite aware. I mean, if you're quiet, usually you're rather observant. And I also even wanted to jump in on what Ray was saying about the childhood order thing, because I'm the youngest of like 4 altogether siblings. And a lot of what you were both saying there was also really hit me where I live type thing. So I don't know if you identified, I know you can perhaps with hindsight identify maybe going through phases of depression or anything like that. I'm sure we
yeah. So
it's part of almost a high school
but you know,
rite of passage.
right. Yeah, but you know, the interesting thing is that my journey out of that, that sort of feeling that I was not, you know, maybe a bit of hopelessness, or feeling that I was stuck in myself and I couldn't improve also. It started with a book that I got in very strange circumstances, and this was the first book that I ever read, apart from school books. And you know, it's an interesting story. You know, if you want me to share it, So I was on the ferry. This was close to when I was about to graduate from high school. Maybe I was about 17 or so, and I was on the ferry between the two islands, Trinidad and Tobago, which is it's two islands, one country. Yeah. I met a family friend, and he was telling me all about this book that he read, and he said if he had this book when he was my age, he would be, where he was speaking about money. He's saying I would be a millionaire and I'd be set up for life and la la. And then he was saying to me like, oh, I should like he said I should read it one, and then he said he had a copy that he was willing to sell me. He's not selling the books, but he said he had an extra copy he would be willing to sell me for $100, right? That's like about 10 quid. But I mean, when I'm still 17, I mean, there's quite a few things I could think about to spend 100 quid on a book, right?
Yeah.
I had no value for books at that time. So I just said, yeah, you know, interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely get it. Yeah. And that was the end of that, right?
Yeah.
So a week later, I graduated from high school, and I got a few distinctions in some subjects. So they called me on the stage and they gave me like a hamper with some items in it, geometry set, this, that. And lo and behold, there was this book, the exact book this guy told me about a week ago.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, that's an interesting coincidence, you know? So anyway, I started reading the book, and, you know, I read the whole thing in a few days, you know? It was a book on finances, and I'm sure most of you probably heard of it. It's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki, yeah?
Robert Kiyosaki, exactly. And this was a book on finances. Now, this does tie back into mental health, so I haven't gone off track here, but you know, I will link it back. But it was a book on finances, right? And I read it in a week, and it completely transformed the way I thought of, you know, my, you know, financial fortunes and so on. It just in a nutshell, the book spoke about the difference in the thinking of rich people and poor people. Rich people poor people think about working for money, and rich people think about letting money work for them, right? The book prescribed a simple strategy for your financial life, which was you get, if you don't already come from money, you get as best a job you can. You live below your means, you save the rest, to eventually get a bit of a pot together to invest with. And in the meantime, this is what it's stressed, and this is the point, this is why I brought this all up. In the meantime, it's just hammered on financial education. Learn about money, how money works, how investment works, what types of investments are good, what are not, what ones give you the best returns, which ones are safer. All about, you know, it just keep hammering that point. Educate yourself about money, yeah. So, you know, that is sort of the strategy. That is sort of the strategy that I employed when I came to the UK. I started working offshore, which you know, I you know, lived up below my means, saved up. I got involved in, learned all about how to invest in property and business and this and that, and you know, that sort of advice really set me up to create a very a financial future for myself that you know, gave me a lot of freedoms, and you know, made my life a lot easier just from that knowledge, if you know what I mean. So, but that was the first time, that was the first book that I read that I had an experience where, wow, it's like your whole way of seeing things, your perspectives can change so much just from reading a book about, and it seemed like the knowledge was such elitist knowledge now, you know. I felt like I was being privy to, like, you know, like some really, you know, elite knowledge that not everybody can get. And as a result, I sort of got exposed to that whole world of books out there, which, which teach you things that, you can really change your perspective on things. And, I still had my limits in the belief that, there are certain skills you can't learn. But then I started to see books which had titles that's suggesting that they're going to teach you how to get those skills. Books on how to be more charismatic, how to attract women, how to, qualities and things that I thought, how to be better in conversation. Or, I thought these things weren't learnable. But with my limited belief still intact, I got some of these books and I started to read and so on, start to apply some of the little ideas and, start to see some improvements and stuff like that, so, and then slowly but surely, those some little results, some little improvements in those skill sets that I noticed started to slowly erode that limiting belief that I had. So I saw a way out that I could actually improve these skill sets, Yeah. So Shai, you wanted to comment?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, powerful stuff. I've come across Rich Dad Poor Dad, but much later, and everyone who probably does wishes they came across it a lot sooner. I think the most powerful thing there for what you were saying was, I think it's like Bruce Lee or something, where he's like, knowing isn't enough, we have to do. And a lot of people read books, but you genuinely applied what you were getting from the book, especially that living below your means piece. And so this was a beautiful, fantastic transition into committing to your vision. So it seems like at that point you were smart in high school, you got some distinctions, and lo and behold, it all pays off. They give you the hamper that gives you extra knowledge that you need. And it seems that might be one turning point where you've gone from just the education focus to the, okay, financially, I've got the school down, but you might have sensed there was something missing, and the Rich Dad Poor Dad highlights that. You're like, okay, I want to educate myself financially. You mentioned going into the oil platform field, working in sort of that and saving up what you can. I'm also then curious. So it seems to me you also identified the other books you started working on. It seems to me that's a key turning point where you started to almost go, this was me in high school. I've come out, I've done quite well. And now this is who I want to become. And you've gone on to actively shape or mold yourself, chisel yourself, into who you want to become. And so I feel like you've sort of shared two mentors in essence. So you've had the friend who initially, I suppose, showed you what it's like to be someone who interacts with everyone, who's one of the cool kids and what comes with that. And you've got someone else who, well, we won't go with him highlighting the book to you. You've got Robert Kiyosaki, who's informed you about getting financially educated.
Yes.
At this point, when you're starting to work, who?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it changed who you started hanging out with, if you sort of lost communication with friends, and you're the second youngest. How does that change relationships at home if you're doing all this? And just what was the journey like in that second phase? As the depression or those self-consciousness pieces, if they started to disappear, or is this more, I was focused on certain books of study when I was in school, now I'm focused on these books and on developing myself in this way, but I'm still perhaps keeping to myself, still the reserved and quiet person, and the other transformations come later?
Right. Well, what happened from that point on when I discovered this whole world of information out there that can teach me things to improve skill sets that I felt like I was lacking, right? I would sort of just give you my understanding of it now with full hindsight, and then go back to the what I feel is that for my mental health, I need to feel useful and capable in a wider range of areas in my life, and I also need to feel that I'm doing something or at least some things that are worthwhile to me. in my estimation, I feel them to be worthwhile. Yeah. Now, what happened? What was the problem? At the start of the journey, when I was lacking in these various skill sets, is that I didn't have the skill sets necessary to be useful or capable in the ways that I want to be useful, to feel empowered in myself, to feel like I'm in control. I'm able to respond to the challenges that life throw at me effectively, and to be proud of that in myself. So I feel like my mental health started to really improve and so on once I saw that, oh, there is a pathway I can actually develop any skill that I want. So it's that one limiting belief that some skills are not learnable. That's the one limiting belief that I think if people let go of that, then you can have the understanding that there is a pathway from wherever you are at now, where you're feeling I'm so shy, I'm so bad at this, I can't talk to people, I feel nervous in this. There is a clear pathway where you say, oh, every skill is learnable as long as I'm willing to go out there now and seek the information and take the gems and then start to apply them and so on. So I feel for men, or for myself at least, if I feel that there is a clear path towards sorting up a problem that I'm experiencing, that I have, that is half the mental strain of it gone. I more suffer mentally if it is I feel like I've got an issue and there's nothing I can do about it. There's no solution. There's no pathway. I don't mind to work towards the solution, but if I feel I can't see any solution, then my mental health will suffer from that. So I think that one limiting belief of some skills are not learnable. Once you get rid of that, you realize that there are first of all, there's thousands of people who have the same problems you have, and there's a few hundred of them that wrote books about it and the solutions that they found for it. So if you want to go out there and dig, you're going to find, and then you start to apply, and everything starts to work out for you slowly but surely as you start to stack up those skill sets. I think
no, it's so nice and warming to obviously hear that, from going from the transition of being with a single parent mother who's basically playing both mum and dad, and obviously you thinking that you don't have these skills, attributes, things like that. You go through the transition of teenage 20s, things like that. You read this book and it just opens a door to you to make you realize that, do you know what, there's a blueprint for everything. That's one thing I've realized. There's a blueprint from everything. So there's not even the things that you think, oh yeah, you can't do. And I think the key to it is that the fact that because there's a blueprint, it makes the journey half easier, if that makes sense. Because I think if there wasn't a blueprint, we would have to do what the book's telling us 3-4 times just to obviously get to that end result. And you obviously saying that all these books, like I'm on the same page as you in terms of that, because I'm starting to realize that all the answers are hidden away in books for all of us. If you don't know something, rest assured. And obviously now we're in the digital age. Google's our best friend, Alexa's our best friend. There's no need
YouTube as well. I mean, there's lots of guys talking about any issue you want on YouTube. So
definitely. So the one thing I'm really eager to find out is, you say you work in the oil rig industry, things like that, and personally I've never heard or known a lot of Black people to obviously work. I mean, what kind of pushed you to to go to go into that direction? What's it like as well in terms of the environment? Obviously I can only assume there's a lot of guys, but I just want to understand what the race is, and if there's ever been any conflict, and what's that been like for you as a Black man as well.
Well, what happened? Well, in terms of how I started, is my brother was doing it before me. He came here about 2 years before me and started. He got into it because of an in-law of ours that came to Tobago, and sort of he became friendly with him, and he told him all about the possibility to do this and which sort of training courses and things he could do. So he sort of he took the leap of faith and just went, did the courses, and got into the industry. And then he sort of paved the way for me. So I followed in his footsteps. He showed me which courses as well, and he paid for it initially, and then I paid him back once I started to work and so on. So that you know, that I guess that's more a kind of luck thing getting into it, not so much my doing per se. It was just an opportunity that was presented to me, and I took it, and it, you know, it turned out to be quite a good one. But in terms of the lifestyle and so on, the oil rig, yeah, it's, I mean, it's 99.9% male out there. You know, you might see 1 or 2 women on an oil rig of 300-400 guys. You know, so you know, it's you know, it's a kind of it's an all male environment. There's not a lot of drama, if you know what I mean. There's not a lot of drama between men too much when you're out there. Guys just kind of get on with it. They do what they need to do, and then they're just, you know, they're just doing their time, and then they go home, kind of thing. Yeah. Very rarely you have too much. You will have a little bit of you have a little bit of like egos competing. You know, some guy you know, feeling like, you know, sort of wanting to defend his position in something or the other, but I mean, still out there, there's a clear hierarchy. You know, there is who is the supervisor, who is the, you know, there's a clear hierarchy for the men. So you know where you stand in that. So there's little conflict apart from when there is 2 people who feel like they have a certain level of authority, and then they disagree on how to handle something. So then they might have a little bit of busting up and a little bit of swearing and whatever between them. But that's quite rare in the UK too. You know. The environment out there is very relaxed, to be honest, you know, so it's quite pleasant place to work and to be, you know, once you happen to be with a team of guys who are just chilled out and relaxed, you know, it's like what we have to do, the job itself is clearly laid out for us, you know, it's controlled extensively with permits and things like that, so it's planned, it's controlled, so, you know. Actually, I got a lot out from that line of work in terms of planning things and thinking about all the possibilities, risk, making sure you have the full plan in mind before you even start a task. That's kind of been very useful for me in terms of even things that I do at home and businesses or projects that I start myself. It allowed me to see how to clearly structure these kind of things, because I'm doing that every day in that line of work now, you know. In terms of being a black man, you know, I'm usually probably one of the only guys who is not white on a platform, but I haven't noticed any I haven't been treated any differently, or I've seen other guys who are even darker than I am as well, and you know, the guys are not treated differently due to race or anything like that. I haven't seen any experience of that, you know, even like Pakistani guys or Chinese guys, and so you see sometimes, you know, a bit rarer, but you see them sometimes, and you know, people just treat them in the same way, you know. If I guess if some guy doesn't like or has a racist feeling or something, he will keep it himself, because it won't be accepted out there officially, and it won't be accepted by the other guys. The other guys won't support it. So if you're a bigot or a racist or whatever, you probably will just keep that to yourself. And if you keep it to yourself, you know, it doesn't, you know, that's yours. You know, you can keep it. It's no problem. You know. So
excellent. And yeah, no, it definitely does. And like in terms of like, you know, leadership, do you see like a multitude of different races, or is it just, you know, predominantly white people? And
well, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No. So yeah, I wanted to find out that, and also in terms of like progression and, you know, because again, one thing that's really been brought to light, especially from me and the conversations I've had with a lot of black brothers, is, you know, there's been a lot of microaggressions in the past, and then 2, in terms of progressing up, no matter how much you do as a black person, even though, you know, you're more than ticking all the boxes, you're being punctual, things like that. So I just want to kind of understand what it's like out there in terms of that kind of point of view?
No, what I would say in the oil industry and on oil rigs and things like that, it doesn't seem to me that race plays a factor at all. It doesn't seem to me, because I think because this industry is so global. It's like, you know, you might be doing a job in Aberdeen today, then you might be doing a job in Azerbaijan, then you might be in Africa, then you might. So most of the guys are moving around all over the world working. If you're in the UK sector, if you're in the North Sea working, most of the guys on the rig will be white, just because we're in the North Sea. So, you know, most of the opportunities, they'll employ local guys. You know, they won't bring people in from overseas, and the majority of the population here is white. So, you know, they get the opportunity. But when you go offshore and you see like guys, you know, got black guys, mixed race, Chinese, you know, Thai, whatever, there's no what to say, that it doesn't seem to factor as or your race or something like that. You know, you do see guys who are from, you know, ethnic minorities in leadership positions as well. They're not treated any differently. You know, it doesn't seem to be a factor. You know. And I think it's just because of the global nature of this industry. You also see something similar to that in like finance, because financial people work with people from all over the world. So generally in that industry as well, there's not that much, you know, like you don't feel racism too much, you know. Yes, Shaimanda, you wanted to?
I just, it's beautiful to hear that that's the way it is. And when you've added the travel piece, I think they always say travel broadens the mind, and when you experience and understand other cultures more, it's hard to have a bigoted or former stereotypical view of what certain people are like. And as you were talking about being, say, like on an oil platform, I kept thinking how, I mean, it's, I don't want to say it's a hot box, but you probably have to rely on each other, for your sanity, but also for your safety, in the sense that, well, mental health is probably a factor. You're away from your family. Some people might have children or pregnant partners, or just they've left the dog at home, you know, or they're stressing out about other things. And you're almost isolated in your own bubble, which is a term all of us are using right now, unfortunately. So I think everyone would sort of make their rules. It made me think about almost the military in a way, like where you'd have to have each other's backs. And if you were someone who is divisive or doesn't want to connect with all of your colleagues, it's not even going to be a great experience for you. I think you'd have an awful time. And I'm very curious about, I like the point you made about investing in yourself. And I think whether it's from investing in the books to investing in, or getting help investing in the courses that allowed you to go into the industry, what are some of the key, and also investing in property and other businesses. So I wanted to find out, maybe, I don't know if it's going to be key tips or key things that you look for something that you're going to invest in for yourself, and for something you're going to look at investing in order to generate some sort of income, if you will, or just to get into. What are some of the key things that either you look for that it will give you personally or financially or otherwise?
Yeah, well, in terms of investing for financial things, of late, basically when I look at things to invest in, I'm not looking to invest in something that is going to create another job for me. You know, so, you know, certain type of businesses are actually self-employment. Even if you can make a lot of money in them, all of your time is taken, you know, because you have to be constantly doing something. If you're providing like a service, for example, like say you open a body shop, car spraying body shop or something, or some type of a gym, which you're a PT in a gym, you know, you open a gym, or so you have to be there all the time. You have to give all your time. So I don't like personally businesses that take all of my time. I like anything that is like systemizable to the extent that maybe I might give an hour to it a week, and it's ticking over. Yeah. So it, you know, maybe in the beginning you might have to, you know, you're obviously setting it up, so you put your time and energy into it. But when it's running, it has to be a sort of way where it's automatable. You know, that could be included, like just putting somebody like having an employee or some employees that can run it to the extent that they just need to report to me briefly once, a couple of times a week, but it's not a job. It's not another job for me. You know what I mean? Because I think the point of business and creating multiple streams of income is to give yourself time freedom. I'm not looking to like just be making millions of dollars and a slave to this job, because I'm no better off than if I just was doing a basic job and had a bit more time to do what I wanted to do now. So yeah, that's how I filter opportunities to invest in. So I invest in property because that it doesn't require any of my time. Well, not much of my time. Just buy to let. You got tenants and they just pay every so often. You might have to go fix an issue and that's it. I like some forms of online businesses. Like at the moment, there's a great opportunity in investing in selling on Amazon. Yeah. Because especially with the pandemic, Amazon is taking over, the online market share. They've got more than 60% of it. So, and they give you an opportunity where they can do fulfillment for you, or meaning they send out all the packages for you, just send it to them and they sell it. So if you do some research and find a little bit of a niche product on Amazon that you can sell, they do all the heavy lifting for you. So you just have to set it up and relax. So I like things like that. Or even if you could invest in businesses where someone is very passionate about something and you can be perhaps the supply funding and supply guidance to them, but they're going to be running the show in that sense. I'm okay with that as well, as long as I think that the person has qualities that would see them successful in my estimation, so yeah, that's what I look for in terms of financial, and then we could talk about personal development again after you guys, if you guys want to make a comment on that also.
Yeah. Sorry, I was on mute there. So yeah, I was just going to ask, like, in terms of, because you've gone through all these transition, learning, progression, things like that, and one key takeaway for me is how you've also learned how to mitigate risks turning into issues and things like that. What would you say from business perspective would you say was your biggest challenge, from everything from real estate to drop shipping, Amazon, things like that, and any other businesses that you've ventured to? What was the biggest, or what has been the biggest challenge or challenges?
I would say perhaps the biggest challenges I've faced, and this is challenge that I faced when I was trying to do business back in my own country, in Trinidad and Tobago, was finding like the right people to work with, because it's like I came up with some business ideas, like, for example, cars over there sell for a lot more expensive than they do here. So I could have purchased cars here for like, maybe 1/3 of the price of the cars over there, ship them there. After I pay taxes, is like it like doubles. My money doubles when I sell the car, for the price that I can sell it for, right? Very simple business, but very lucrative based on that sort of, is like arbitrage opportunity, right? So I worked with a guy who was a prominent businessman there. He had a truck servicing company. He had a printing thing and so on. So he was quite established. I went and met him. He sounded great. He sounded like he understands the opportunity. And we did 2 cars to test it. To sort of like test the waters and so on. And, we brought the first one in, it sold, and then he, I think he had some financial problems. He wasn't getting paid from some suppliers or whatever. And I think he paid back some of the money from the sale because he was controlling the money. Because I thought that a businessman such as him would see that this is just peanuts compared to what we can do if we carry on with it. So I didn't even think about, like that I should keep control of the money, like who the money goes to. So the money was paid to his company. He paid back maybe 2/3 of it, and he kept about £4,000. And giving lots of excuses why he didn't pay it. So then I come to and then I had another experience similar to that also back at home. So I come to realize that the way the mentality is there, because it's a very small island mentality, is a kind of way where, you know, you don't, there is no vision that, hey, like here people seem to have a work ethic that they want to do a good job and they want to be a certain way. They don't really have that there. They just take whatever they have in hand right now, regardless of the fact that it can be a much bigger opportunity in the future. So as a result, I just kind of stopped doing too many businesses over there because of the fact that I couldn't find people to work with who could have a bigger vision than just what little pennies they have in their hands now, you know. Yeah. Shaman, do you want to say?
Yeah, I do. I'm very curious as well now about this idea. Obviously, I think finding people with integrity and who you can trust is very crucial. And the way you've described that example of setting out with the two cars, I feel like it's how a lot of people do seek that short-term gain, whether that's a business opportunity or with you as a person. They sometimes sell you short for what you can bring into their life right now, and they'll take whatever they can get like right now, which is nothing compared to what you could give them if they stayed with you for a while longer, whether that's friends, relationships, even family members. And I like this idea you've mentioned of almost having this big vision. And I think I love the fact we're talking about this today, because a lot of people, in my opinion, probably myself included, have a challenge when it comes to setting a big vision for yourself. And before maybe we get into some suggestions you could provide to them about creating a sort of compelling vision for yourself that'll make you keep working for the years or through the years, I want to find out instead, as your vision was changing and as you were evolving into, and you continue to evolve into this different person or becoming more of who you are, what was happening to the people around you, to your circles, I suppose? Because at one point, the people around you meet your needs and they're almost at your level, but I feel like water seeks its level. So if your level rises and everyone else around you isn't doing the same, I'm wondering what happens. And maybe that's a mental health piece as well, with how maybe there's a bit of dissonance or a bit of a challenge for yourself where you're feeling an obligation to stay, or there's a sense of loyalty. I don't know. I don't know so what sort of happened to all the different people around you? Was this quite a, say, isolated experience where you're going on this journey on your own and you've bumped serendipitously into people, or were there some people going on the journey who continue to go on the journey with you? Or I don't know how's that?
I understand. Yeah, well, to answer that, what I mean, my situation with that was quite unique in the sense that as soon as I started my adult life, I moved to another country. So it wasn't so much of an issue in terms of like close friends around me, seeing me growing, and then maybe me leaving. Maybe we're leaving each other behind in terms of where we're at, or what our vision for life and things like that. I didn't really experience that because there was a clean cut where I moved to another country, and then everybody that I interacted with or knew here, they didn't know me, so they just took me for however I was, which kind of gave me an opportunity to really reinvent myself and be accepted instantly for whatever I tried, whatever new ways of being that I tried on, And I think that was very lucky, or very helpful to me for reinventing myself. Like you said, I believe that if you're still in the same circle of people and you're trying to sort of like elevate yourself out of there, improve your prospects, change certain traits and so on, you will get some kickback from the people who are around you, who maybe feel threatened by the fact that you might leave them behind, or that you might make them feel a bit lesser because they're now comparing themselves to you, and you're leaving them behind a bit. And what I would say is that that is a sort of hurdle that you have to jump over when you're moving forward, because you're going to experience that some people will be, it's sort of like jealousies, like they behave in ways like but it's more or less like they're just feeling, you're leaving me behind and I don't want you to leave me behind, and you could try to sort of I try to bring everybody that I can with me. If I'm finding some information, I'll share it with anybody who is in my circle or close to me and so on. But not everybody wants to do or has the interest or the motivation to do the kind of work and the kind of investigation you would be willing to do to get a result out of it. Because I mean, learning all this knowledge is one thing, but then when you go to apply it now, I mean, any skill set that you try to apply, if for the first time you try to apply it, you're going to be shit, hands down. Let's be real about it, right? You're not going to be good at it. You're going to make a whole host of mistakes, and it depends on how you interpret mistakes. Like when I go into some new field, like new skill set I'm trying to acquire, I expect to get knockbacks, and I'm really grateful when I get them, because I feel like right now I know how to avoid that, or the knockbacks are actually like lessons as well, because you got the book knowledge, and then you got the life knowledge, and you get the book knowledge by reading and it's easy, and you get the life knowledge by knockbacks, and it feels, it knocks you on your ass a bit, but you need that. That's really valuable, so you want to welcome knockbacks and so on. And if you have that attitude towards any new adventures and any new skills or ventures you're embarking on, then you're kind of untouchable, really, because you're not so attached to it, you always not suffering at all or something, or not having any knockbacks. Yeah, Shai. You're muted, Shai. I can't hear you.
So thank you. So you roll with the punches, which is great.
Yes.
I have a question. I think from what I know of you, I would definitely agree that you are the kind of person who wants to take everyone with, and there's a joy you get from that. I think that's part of where people say success leaves clues. And it's part of why we're saying all these blueprints and books and videos exist, because most people who are climbing the mountain and going through all these hardships, they want company. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not lonely at the top because they kick people off. It's lonely because a lot of people stop climbing, right? And people want as many people up there. And I know, probably from your personality as I see it, that it would be quite a difficult thing to do, to say, push someone away because they're just not meeting the standard, or they are just that negative, if you will. They're just trying to pull you back down, like you say. You're trying to evolve, they're trying to help you regress. And I'm curious if you've had encounters like that and how they've affected you, how you've done it. I'm assuming the business arrangement might be one of those where you've had to check someone in or terminate a contract, and obviously it might lead them into some hardship, financial hardship, but you've done what you can and you can take responsibility for their life. So I'm just wondering, how do you handle some of those instances, and are there perhaps any that stand out that you've had that were particularly difficult and might have affected you in a mental way? It was, it stayed with you, perhaps.
Yes. Well, what I would say, I would speak more about personal detachments that I would have had to make, as opposed to financial, because when it comes to business and things like that, it's very sort of matter of fact. So if someone is not performing what we make an agreement, someone is not performing their part of it, then the agreement ends, and there's not too much there's not too much gray area with that. You both agree to something, and you expect that they will hold up theirs. If they don't, we try to talk about it, we try to work it out. If it doesn't work, we part ways. I try to always make it amicable if possible. Yeah. So if there's any ill feelings, it won't be because of my actions or because of it won't be coming from me, from my side. But in terms of personal people around you, that's where I think the biggest challenges come, because these people are in your heart. These are people that you care about and that you would like to keep with you, and then, but what happens is that sometimes, especially the people who are closest to you, like family members that you grew with, and they know you to be a specific way, and then now you're trying to come out of that and elevate, and you are being successful in that. So it's almost like they can see the potential in you blossoming. If they don't feel like their own potential is blossoming in a similar way, and they also don't feel a drive or a commitment in themselves to make it so. Because if they have that commitment in themselves and they want to go there, when you people who are like that, when you see someone blossoming, you don't feel what to say, like that doesn't make me feel good. You think, oh wow, they're getting some good valuable information there. Let me ask them what's going on, so that I can get some insights from them, and maybe we grow side by side or whatever, things like that. You get excited about someone else's successes because you realize you can learn from them, right? But if you're not really willing to put any effort in, then you would sort of just feel like as if this person's success is somehow pushing you down,
like it's against you kind of thing.
Yes, it's against you, right? And when I encounter someone who you can clearly see is like that, and essentially if they act as if like they have problems with a lot of things, which it doesn't make sense what they have problems with, or they're just maybe very moody and so on for very small things, and you say, well, what it is, why are they getting upset about simple things like that? But it's just that they're feeling. You don't make them feel good. You make them feel small, right? With that, what I do is I confront it directly. It's not a very pleasant conversation to have, but I confront it directly. I say, all right, so this is what it seems to me that you're doing, or this is what it seems to me like you're feeling. Let's talk about it. Let's see if we can work through it, because I'm not going to sort of like, I don't keep that type of energy around me, but I'm not wanting to like just like push you away because I love you, you're in my heart. But at the same time, if we can't just face this openly and say, people have feelings, you might get feelings coming up that, feeling small, you're feeling a bit of jealousy, you're feeling me as well. I might feel something like that. But if you can just be open and say, oh, this is how I feel, then it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. But you just don't allow that feeling now, or you're sort of like speaking to them so that you're giving them the opportunity to not allow that feeling to then translate into them trying to sabotage you in a subconscious, in a sort of way, trying to kind of sabotage you, or maybe having a negative response to any sort of ideas that you may tell them about. Oh, I think that wouldn't work, or why are you bothering with all of that, or a kind of negative response. Yeah. I go direct. I confront them about it, and I speak about it and give them that opportunity. But I would say some people, they you try, and they are how they are, and they're not going to change because they're not willing to let go of just holding on to this smallness. And eventually you have to just sort of like actually explode and tell them, listen, if you're going to stay like this, then we're going to part ways. Sometimes that is enough to spark them now, because they realize that you're actually willing to let them go, whereas before they may have thought that you would not let them go. Sometimes that realization that you're actually going to let them go makes them feel that they start to see the value in having you in their lives now, so they might make a change. Sometimes not, and then you just have to follow through on that and just let them go. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I've also been in that and I've experienced it, you know. And I think there's two requisites there. One is, you know, the communication is so key because, you know, even let's say for instance, you're climbing up the ranks, you're doing good things, you're pushing on in life and progressing, and a lot of good is coming from that. Even in your nearest circle, there'll always be that one who, or those people who, as much as you know, you call them your friends or family, because you're doing so well and they're not getting that, they kind of, you know, semi-repel, and I think it's unintentional a lot of the times. It's just the case of like, you know, you're reaping more than they are, but then again, it all comes down to what seeds have you sown for you know, for something to reap from that. But I think, you know, it's so good the fact that you go dive in and communicate, because that lack of communication, you know, breaks relationships, and I've seen it time and time again. It's all about going to that person, speaking to them, and just saying like, you know, what's the problem, what's the issue, how can we overcome this, you know, or how do you see this relationship moving forward, how can we kind of build to it. I mean, if you want the same results I'm getting, I can teach you this, I can bring you on my journey, I can do X, Y, Z, so on and so forth. But at the same time, there's got to be a level of commitment that the other person wants to do. And a lot of the times, people, you know, they see the successes, but they never want to put in the work themselves. So you see, you know, it's even more harder. It's just like that saying, you know, you could take the donkey to the well, but you can't make it drink, can you?
No, exactly. It's very true there. Very true.
So yeah. So
Yeah, you know, Shy.
I was gonna say I feel like we need to change this to the blueprint for success or something.
we're making our own blueprint.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
But you know, something that I wanted to touch on as well about, you know, when we're going out there. I mean, like in my mind, and what, you know, we talk about vision and stuff like that. To me, you know, the life we have here, we have a certain amount of years to experience it. And for me, what the highest valuable thing is a multiplicity of experiences. Yeah. Nothing that you acquire material or so it's worth anything to you after you're gone. You know, when you're on your deathbed, you think about the experiences you've had. So for me, I want to have as much and as varied experiences as possible. Now, what happens is there are systems that are built around us in the society that we live in, which if we don't master them, they act as a chain, a noose around, and a chain on our ankles, if you would, right? They don't allow you to be able to just do things that you want and explore the world and all the different experiences that you can have there and skill sets you can acquire. So my objective initially was always to create financial freedom for time freedom. It wasn't really that I just want to have lots of money. I wanted to have time freedom, and then with that time freedom is like what I want is to just have as many different experiences as possible. But for me as well, skill sets are like experiences, you know. So I would want to try to learn. So I want to be free to go and maybe if I want to do a little kickboxing or something, go to Thailand and do a little boxing course. I like dancing, I do the Spanish dances, so I wouldn't mind going to some festivals in Europe and go to you know, South America and do some dancing classes and things like that, and for a month and not have to think about, or how am I going to finance this, or how is my, you know, how am I going to, like, I'm going to have to go back to a job and slave for the next year to pay for this type of thing. Yeah. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of people tend to think about when they're setting visions as freedom from something. I want to be free from having to work. I want to be free from financially free, you know, from my boss, from these kind of things. But I think it's just as important to think about freedom for, yeah. What are you going to do if you create financial freedom so you can do whatever you want with your time? What do you want to do with your time? What are you interested in? And so in that sense, fun. Fun is a very important part of life. And I don't really do that many things that are not fun for me. But like I said, there are certain things in the early days where I had to buckle down and get, my finances and certain things in order, so that you can have that freedom to choose how do I want to spend my time with this 80 years or so that I have. If you don't master the systems and financial system, all the different systems that bind us, if you don't master them and rise above them, then there will be a chain around your ankle. And once you master them, then you're free to. But what are you free for? You think about that, right? Free to live life in a certain way, and you need to think about that as well as you're working towards your vision. It makes your vision a lot more attractive to work towards. Can't hear you, Shaiman.
I said sorry, fiddling around. That's outstanding advice. I think for anyone, regardless of age or wherever level you are in life, just to think about what you want to be more free for. I think I've had a conversation with my dad, for example, who's now retired and all this. And when you're retired, and I don't want to say you have nothing to do, but you have nothing but to think of what you want to do. It shouldn't be the case that you just sit down. It's like, now I have the opportunity to spend time with family or to learn any skill I want, to travel. And I think one of the shames sometimes is that a lot of people fantasize about doing that in the later years. And not that they don't do anything now, but it feels like they go for the short-term pleasure producing activities now with the hope that they'll do the other more meaningful experiences later, as opposed to even perhaps switching it around, like do those things that you would hope to do much later on, because as the 2020 showed, like nothing is guaranteed. And unless you because it doesn't have to be this massive, I'm going to live on a beach and sip margaritas all day, or I'm going to go on safari every month. It can be as simple as, I'm going to have enough freedom that I can travel the UK every weekend, or just do activities, start to learn activities. Some people work so much they don't feel like they can rest, and just to have a day of rest and to sit down and think of what you want to do during that time of rest is very important. So I think it's an incredible point that you've made. And there's
but I think, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, but I think that's one key sort of maybe nuance to highlight in this point in that point that you're making and that I'm making, is that if you don't master these systems that are imprisoning us in terms of money, finances, and even like some of the social systems and things like that, you don't have the option to live free, to do what you want to do. You don't have the time. If you don't educate yourself, say for example, on how the financial system works. So the financial system is not designed to give you any freedom. It's designed to produce children in school who are like drones for the system. Yeah, they get a job,
cogs in the system,
mortgage, and then they just cogs on a wheel. And you work 9 to 5, then you work late because you're trying to get ahead. But ahead to what? To get a promotion so that you can work even later. But you drive a nicer car to the jailhouse, right? And yeah, so the thing is, if you don't study this system and learn, well, okay, right, how can I take care of my needs, because you can't function outside of it, but still have my time freedom, so I can do like experience life and have a bit of fun with my life. You know what I mean? Have some time to do some things. Yeah, that is important. So the point I'm making is that it's important to understand that there is some minimal work that you have to do to be able to even have the time to pursue things that make you feel fulfilled and so on. You know what I mean? And it all comes down to like understanding, certain systems and the chains that bind you. So it comes down to educating yourself with the right type of information and then applying it.
Yeah, that's
and then you get your freedom from.
Yeah, your points reminded me of Sir Ken Robinson, who he's passed now, but he was very much an advocate of changing the way that schools are set up and not stifling or ceasing the creativity in people and just almost factory manufacturing them. It's got a great TED talk for anyone who hasn't heard it. The title escapes me, but it's well worth checking and finding out. And I think the point you were making before about almost these things that we leave and put off, we try to accumulate so many things, which you can't take it with you. It's been said, the pharaohs tried it. It doesn't work. People found it later on and it's in museums now. You can go see it. Like, you cannot take it with you. And there is also a book, I think she's called Bonnie Ware, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, that puts that into perspective. I think she was like, she did various things, but she was like palliative nurse. So like end of life care nurse for a bit. And so she had these amazing, beautiful conversations with people at the very end of their life and finding out what was most important to them. And it was never the cliche, I wish I worked more. But it depends what your work is. If you're trying to cure cancer or do something amazing for your family, then absolutely, perhaps you should work more. But it was
then you wouldn't call that work, would you?
Precisely. Yeah. I think that's it. What we label as work is often perhaps what we don't want to be doing, but have to do purely transactionally. There is no passion involved. There is no enjoyment. We're just transactioning. We're not even trying to turn up and do our best. Like someone who's a consultant or contractor would usually be doing something that is meaningful to them, that they are good at, that they enjoy creating, and it meets their own life purpose. But anyway, as we were speaking as well, I got to thinking of another great man who sort of mastered himself and channeled that self-mastery into trying to conquer, at the time, the known world. And this is Alexander the Great. I think there's a quote attributed to him, which is something like, there are two types of people in the world, like those who face their fears and those who, I think, suffer from it and die. So essentially, there's people who overcome the fear, go forth, do great things. There are people who are consumed by the fear and eventually just die. They haven't lived. They haven't been able to push beyond. I was going to ask what the last thing you did that filled you with fear was, or the last risk or non-risk that you took in business was. Yeah, I may as well ask you that. Well,
Perhaps the last thing that really stands out to me was a certain person who was very close to me what to say, like, I think they were experiencing some of the feelings that we were speaking about earlier, and I felt the need that I had to confront them about it, but I had to confront them in front of everyone in the close circle that this person was involved in and I was involved in, because another thing that was going on as well would be that this person would maybe if I was to pull this person aside and have a private chat, sort of like directly with them, they would go on, they would sort of use that now and tell a different story to everyone around and try to rally people. So it wasn't, that wasn't productive, and it's not something I wanted to exclude from my life. So basically, I had to have the conversation in front of everyone, so that there was no way to go and create any sideward motion and rallying people against and all this sort of stuff. It just had to be dealt with direct, sort of like directly, and that filled me with quite an anxiety to do it. And then when I did it, it had the result that I hoped for. It just forced direct communication, because there was no option to go and talk about it with this one or that one. Everybody saw the conversation, everybody could make their mind about it, and no one would sort of like take a side, you know, with that person against or something. Not that it was that, but that particular experience, well, I found it challenging to do that in, you know, in front of the group. And it, I mean, when I was speaking, it was, my voice was trembling a little and all that. But you know, I did it, and it did have the effect I wanted. We end up being able to then directly just put the cards on the table and deal with it. And now the relationship I have with this person is very beautiful, you know, and direct, you know.
Which is important. Yeah, that's great. I'm sure, I hope that's going to give someone listening the courage to attempt to do the same. And I keep remembering books today for some reason. There's another book called The Anatomy of Peace, I think by the Avid Institute. And they touch on some of what you just said about one example of some conflicts is there's usually people are always looking for allies, or certain types of people are looking for allies. And it's like, sometimes that's why some people gossip. That's why some people, for example, will say, oh, the weather in Manchester is horrible, because they're looking for someone who will be an ally to them. They're not usually looking for someone who will go, no, actually, the weather here is pretty nice, or I come from a desert climate. I love this. You know, there's so much water.
Misery likes company like this too, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Well, I want to try and transition into some of our closing questions. Don't know how Ray feels about that, because I know we've taken a lot of your generous time, as agreed. And
okay, it's okay. I'm enjoying the conversation.
Oh, as am I. I mean, we can keep going. Can take you back, man. But yeah, keep them coming back. We'll have you on again.
No problem with that.
Well, the first closing question that I'd like to ask you is, what's the best thing about being Black?
That's an interesting question. You know, that just brings to mind a song by an artist called Chronix. I don't know if you know Chronix.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, and just one lyric in the song: "They never told us that black is beautiful." You know, they never told us. Yeah. One thing I think of, that's great about being Black is the culture. I think that, you know, we have. And it doesn't seem to be just restricted to any country, you know, like Black people in America, Black people in the UK, Black people in the Caribbean or in Africa, we, you know, seem to have a kind of chill, a kind of calmness about them, you know. You meet a brother and it's just like, you could just be real with him, you know. It's none of these sort of like polite games that, you know, a lot of people play here in Britain. You know, it's like you can't really just gel. It's like almost like there's a wall there. I think with us, we tend to be a lot more. We got a bit of heart now. We got a lot more heart with us, and it's easy to just, you know, I've got some African neighbors there, and, you know, I'm over by their house fixing stuff in the house all the time. They're cooking food, or they invite me over. They come over here. You know, it's just a one love, and, you know, we just met. But I've got other neighbors, and I don't even know their names properly. You know what I mean? So somehow there's a unity between us black people, you know, that I like a lot. I enjoy that a lot. A kind of easiness, you know, easygoingness. As well, you know, black don't crack. You know what I mean? We definitely got the you know, the aesthetics down, you know.
Say that again.
Please say it again.
You know, that black is beautiful. That's a lyric. You know, I always think about that. You know, my friend, he has a grandmother. She was about 90 something when, you know, she passed away now. But I remember her. She was 90 something years old, and her face had no wrinkles on it. You know, I mean, you can see that she's an old woman, but it's like there wasn't that in her face. You know what I mean? So I say, wow, that's impressive. That is, you know. But I think, you know, that's just topical things. I think mainly I as well, I feel now that even in the world, in the eyes of the world and everything, it's almost like it's been hidden that the kind of like the value that is in us, if you know what I mean, the value, the beauty that is in us, and it's now kind of becoming in the light. So like almost everybody wants to be black now. That is the cool thing, and is the that beauty, that power, that kind of brotherhood and togetherness. It's something that most people desire, and that's what we have, and it's great to have that.
I feel like you've just described the Ubuntu philosophy to the world right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're quite right. It's quite universal. Next question for you. Who taught you how to shave?
How to shave? Nobody taught me how to shave, actually. I just used to go to the barber when I was a child, and then I taught myself. I just looked at what they did, and then I figured it out. It wasn't rocket science. But like I say, I didn't grow up with a male role model. I didn't have a father figure around. So that's an interesting question. I guess it could segue, follow it in the sense that that's interesting for a boy growing up without a male role model. I mean, your father or your male role model is the one who's supposed to teach you about all the things, like even social skills, how to feel, how to confidently carry yourself. You could learn it organically just by looking at him and seeing how he handles, and kind of imitate him when you're younger. And later on, you can have conversations with him, and this wealth of knowledge that I've acquired from reading books and speaking with other men and so on. That's something that the father should really impart to you. So as a result of not having that father figure, when I grew up, it's like almost I felt like I was lost. I didn't know what it was to be a man, to be, to how to empower myself in the world. So I mean, I went and I learned it from other sources, But some people may not see that possibility to go and learn it from other sources, and in fact, they just don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they haven't been taught. So so sometimes the life takes a downward trajectory because you didn't have that somebody to guide you and say, hey, this is how, this is some of the options you have available to you. So you choose which suits you there. But at least you have the tools now. You have the tools to take advantage of whichever direction you want to head in.
Yeah. Can I ask about your siblings then? Because I know you said one was a brother. So are the rest of the siblings, are they all your sisters?
Yeah, all my I've got 4 sisters and 1 brother.
Yeah. Okay. All the older ones are your sisters, are they? Or?
Yeah. Well, one of them, one sister is younger than me, so so she's the youngest, and then it's me, and then the rest are older. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm just curious. And what advice would you give to your younger self, if you could?
Well, what advice I would give, I guess, I can just give you the summary of my understanding of how to improve mental health now, which is perhaps a good thing to mention towards the end here. I would say to my younger self that the idea that I have that certain skills are not learnable, it's erroneous, right? And that, in fact, anything that I felt like I was lacking in, it's a learnable skill, right? And it's also, I think, valuable to mention that anybody that you see, any person you see who excels in this or that area, they also had to learn it. They weren't born with it. You're not born with any skills, really. But you can learn it in an organic way, like we said, and through your role model, your father figures and things like that. You can just pick it up organically like that, or you can, or if that wasn't the case, then you have to learn it now through other means. You could also seek out other men who are exhibiting high levels of whatever quality you feel you're lacking, and approach them and say, hey, you know what, I'm trying to improve on this and I see you're very good at it. So would you mind sort of giving me some pointers or something like that? That's a great compliment to a man. He would be more than happy to give you some some guidance and things like that. Yeah. So you can also make your own role models as you grow up, and you realize what qualities you're lacking and what you want to try to get. Find guys who have it and shadow them, and seek out advice from them. And that was what I would say to my younger self. You can learn any skill set, and I felt like when I started acquiring skill sets and they started stacking up, is the more empowered I felt, the more at ease, the more capable of responding to whatever life threw at me. So the more in my element, and then mental health like evaporated as an issue. It was no longer even something that I thought about, because I was so capable. And I think with men in particular, being able to respond is very important for your well-being, for feeling well-being. And that comes down to skill sets, which is all acquirable. That's my message in terms of anybody who wants improvement on it. Seek out skill sets and acquire them, feel more capable, and mental health improves from there.
Really, really, really do appreciate, getting the insight from yourself. The final thing for me is, again, thank you again, because you also embarked on the wonderful journey that, started all of this last year, us formalizing, creating Men Talk. And it wasn't for us, it was for all of us in all. So the question I have for you is, prior to you embarking on that journey, what was your expectations? And after it, or even now, what did that journey mean to you of us, as Black men, all hiking and walking up, shoulder by shoulder all the way to the top, going through all the journeys and having the little breakdown? I just want to get some insight. What did it mean to you?
Yeah, well, in terms of my expectations, to be honest with you, Shamanda invited me quite at the last minute, and I just was thinking it was just we were just going for a hike, I didn't realize it was such an organized, well thought out event, and like such a positive initiative that you guys were actually setting up and starting. So when I came, I didn't come with much expectations, just to walk in the hills and have a bit of a time with the boys. But when we got there, and the way how you guys set the tone and gave us topics that we could discuss to kind of get into the understanding that we could actually talk about our mental health and things like that, and our experiences, and try to learn from each other, or bond a little bit. That was great. I found that to be a very uplifting kind of day. Everybody, all the guys that when they left, I think they all had that same sentiment of, it just was something blessed. You know what I mean? So that's what I got from it. But then, this is what I say. I was just saying that if you're feeling lacking in skill sets, seek out men who exhibit them to a high quality, and ask them to assist you, or to give you some pointers. Well, this group is a source for that, in that sense. If you will there's various different personalities, different levels in the group, and different skill sets, and you can kind of acquire. So from that group, I met a guy called Obi, and he was built like a brick shit house, like they say. He was very well built. So I and I was I'm getting into, I do a little bit of training, but I'm not very disciplined with it. So I just asked him, how does he train and things like that, and he told me a few pointers, and then I asked him, well, maybe I could come and do a little session with you. So I went and I did a session with him in some fancy gym that he goes to, and then it went well, and since then I've been training with him, and then he trains with another guy who is a PT in that gym. I mean, he's of the same amount of knowledge as a PT himself anyway, but all three of us train together regularly, and now I've got diet plans and this and that, all just from the brothers. I mean, these kind of things, that kind of training with guys who have that kind of knowledge, you would have to pay a lot of money for if you was just to try to seek it as a commodity. But I'm training with 2 PTs, free of charge, and they're taking me under their wing. But what I would say is when you seek out assistance from another man for improving a skill set, when they're giving you advice or when you're working with them, make sure you show willing, you show keenness, and try your best to improve as best as possible. That's the greatest sort of like return on investment you can give to them, or reward them when they see that they've put some effort into you and you've excelled because of it. That makes somebody feel very very rewarded for putting that effort, so I would say, yeah, that as well. So from the Ubuntu, to come back to your question, yeah, you interact with men who have different skills that you can get some advice from. And then you do the same. You share if somebody approaches you, and that is something that's super valuable. In this day and age where so many men don't have male role models and grow up with fathers, if you don't have that many male friends or so, you need somebody to guide you a little bit, when you're now starting out. You need some support and things. So that's what that group can do for you, Yeah.
I think you've knocked Ray out with your answer.
Sorry, I didn't even know that I was on mute. But no, I was saying, you're right on so many levels. It's that thing of, you are the crowd you keep, and the key takeaway with going into different circles and learning from other people, willingness, be keen, because it's all part of the growth. And what I say to people around me, that if you're not growing, I'm not growing. So it's the same kind of compass kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Roger, based on what you just said, what do you wish more men talked about? It doesn't have to be based on what you just said. It could be completely something else. But what do you wish more men spoke about?
That's interesting. What do I wish more men spoke about? What I would say is, maybe I might change the question a little bit in the sense that I would say that a lot of young men coming up, they need a little guidance from men who are a little older and who have a bit more experience of life and things like that. Young men nowadays, they got to go to YouTube to find to hear something about what it is to be a man. The media is pushing a narrative of almost like being a man is like you're guilty of something, especially with the rise of feminism. And when I say feminism, I mean extreme feminism, kind of putting men down in that sense. It's kind of confusing for young men as to what it is to be a man, how it is to live in a wholesome way where you don't give up your personal power, but you don't necessarily try to control others, but you don't give up your personal power. You live life on your terms, without removing the freedom of others to do the same as well. Yeah. That knowledge and that understanding that you have that power to do that, and how to deal with your internal world and how to deal with the challenges that life throws for you, to shoulder the burdens that is kind of like expected of men. Young men need some guidance for that. So and that is seriously lacking nowadays. So I would say it would be good if the older generations of men who maybe have some things figured out a lot better than the younger ones can, if that opportunity is there for them to share with each other now, which is initiatives such as the Ubuntu and so on is that, You're gonna have men of various ages, some 20-something year olds, some 30-something. You know, some of the 30-somethings are actually 20-somethings or 30 or teenagers in their minds, but you know, we won't go there. But you know, they can benefit as well from the group in that sense to like kind of grow up in their approach to life as well, I guess. I mean, I have a lot of younger friends also, who, you know, maybe men who I meet from my family and things like that, you know, like my brothers-in-laws and things, young guys, 20-something coming up, you know, and they seek a lot of knowledge, and I share a lot of knowledge with them and wise them up and give them all the tricks that, you know, I kind of took maybe a few years of researching and messing it up to learn, and then you just hand it to them on a platter, and it's great because now they can stand on your shoulders. So they're gonna have all your knowledge from 23 that you've got. You took 30. I'm 33 now, so it took me 33 to get there. They got it from 23, and now they can build almost from where I'm at. They can build. So by the time they hit 33, they're gonna be way ahead of where I am now. You know, and that is the whole idea, and I like to see, you know, generations building on generations and so on. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It absolutely does. Yeah, it absolutely does. And it reminds me of another quote: "You can build on success, but you shouldn't rest on it. It's like a ladder; you've got to keep climbing." Whoa! I mean, this has been just exquisite.
Amazing, truly amazing.
Yes, it's been great chatting. Been great sharing some ideas.
I mean, so I suppose to summarize, first and foremost, Roger, I want to say thank you for giving your time so generously today, and for having the gumption to live life to the maximum, you know, and setting that example for everyone listening, whoever they are. If those of you listening were curious and wanted to know more about Roger, we'll ask him in a second how you can perhaps connect and maybe get more inspired about your next adventures. Before that, I just also want to say thank you for being another positive role model and example of what a Black man is that we can share with the listeners and the world at large.
Thank you. I mean, it's been my pleasure. So, you know, it's no trouble at all. I enjoy chatting about life and comparing ideas. It's how I grow as well, you know. So yeah, it's been mutually beneficial.
How best is it
Very
for people to... Sorry, Ray.
No. Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, it's been really refreshing, overwhelming, and we are truly honored for you to not only have embarked on the journey with us for the beginning, but you know, still there, still here, and even more absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. One of many, shall we say?
Yes, hopefully, you know, I'm always available for things like such as this, you know, passing on the lessons and so on, you know.
Excellent. You're a hidden gem, man. Like, everything is valuable when it's in the mind, but most people only appreciate it when they see it in the store. And yeah,
Right.
I really see you like that, man. True hidden gem out there. Diamond Giza, as they say in the UK, right?
Amanda, you know, I'm hoping that my head could fit through that door when I leave, when we're finished.
We keep pumping. Let me.
You don't make it that big.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's one love, you know, one love.
One love, yeah. You said that before. I just went straight to Bob Marley. You know, I like that. I think that's your vibe, man. One love. On that note of love, I want to share with you just a final mutual thing that you can take as well, and anyone listening can take. There's a poem by Jesse B. Rittenhouse, and it's called My Wage. I won't recite it or recount it here, but that I think matches brilliantly your own ethos. So Jesse B, Rittenhouse, My Wage. Yeah, I think it's just about being careful what we ask of life, because it'll give it to us. You know? And I think a lot of what you were saying about having a vision and evolving that as you continue to learn is encapsulated in that. But man, yeah, just
I'll definitely have a look at it. Yeah, I wrote it down, so I'll have a look at it now. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, stay safe, take care. I'm looking forward to our next conversation, like Ray said, and thank you for being here today.
I heard you asking me before about how to get in touch with me and things like that.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah,
sure. I'm on Facebook and so on. If somebody wants to touch base, I mean, I like people, so I don't mind, meeting some new people. So
what do they?
They can just give me a message on Facebook or so, and I'll be, or Instagram even. What is my handle on Instagram? I don't even use these things. My handle is Mejias Roger 1 on Instagram. That's my surname is Mejias Roger 1. Yeah, and then Instagram is probably the best place to get into to kind of just send me a message on Instagram or so, and I'll get back to you. If you want to chat about anything.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Like Ray said, thanks for continuing to be such an amazing community, Mentalk Ubuntu community member.
And it's a great initiative you guys are doing. So I'm with you all the way, whatever you're doing. That's I'm here to support if needed. So nice one.
Thanks very much.
Hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed creating.
Don't forget to follow, like, share, and connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our latest episode and listen to any you missed. And tune in next episode.
Take care.